All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to call the meeting of August 13th, 2019 to order. Ben, will you take the roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Here.
Council members Achera.
Here.
Donlin.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Here, everybody please rise for a pledge of allegiance, and then please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer thereafter. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. The notice requirement for the public meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 27th, 2018. There are two, okay, thank you. 27. There are two fire exits, one to my left there, it takes you out to the back parking lot, and one to my right also takes you out to the front parking lot. If you have a cell phone, I ask that you turn it off. We do tape these meetings, and it does interfere with our reception here. If you need to make a call, just go on out into the hallway. You can use your phone out there. Tonight we're here for the reason of a resolution that we need to pass, two resolutions. One dealing with deer management, how to handle deer management, and also the second question will be for medical marijuana. These are just resolution questions. There's no action taken tonight by the council. We're not voting on how we're going to manage deer or if we're going to have medical marijuana. That'll be a question on the ballot in November. It'll be a non-binding referendum question. What that means is it's non-binding. We don't have to act on it even then. Okay, we'll take that information, we'll review it, we'll see what it comes up with, and then we'll take it from there. There will be other meetings between now and November. We'll probably have somebody come in and give a talk on alternate methods of deer management. One, of course, being the conventional method of bow hunt, and another one will be a non-lethal method. So we'll have that information available to you. We'll advertise when that will be. We'll have one meeting for each side to give their talk. And so we'll have that for you available. Then you have plenty of time between now and November to make an informed decision on how you would like to handle it or see it handled. We did do a deer survey last year. Many of you have received it. I think, Rob, we have hundreds of people responded?
700 to 800.
700 or 800. And the one thing, Rob, that was pretty consistent throughout that survey was we realized there's a problem.
There's a problem.
Right? Okay, so I think almost everybody agreed on that part. How to handle the problem was all different ways, but there was definitely a problem in Ocean Township. It's not just located to one area either. You know, Ocean Township is 7,347 acres. That's our town. Almost every acre has deer on it. It's all over, so it's not just the one area. We have 845 acres of open space ourselves. They occupy all of that as well. So there is a problem. We want to figure out a way to do it. We want to hear from you, though. We figure the fairest way to do this is by a referendum question. And the reason for that is we can do an online poll, and then somebody said, well, I didn't see that online poll, so my voice wasn't heard. We can put it out in the newsletter, and many folks will say, well, I didn't get the newsletter, so my voice wasn't heard. But you know when the vote's going to be. It's in November. It's a general election. It's a referendum question. We'll hear from probably the most people at a general election. And then from there, we can take that information, and then we can decide what to do. Okay? So, at this time, we have first resolution. So, that being said, right, anybody have any questions pertaining to the two resolutions that appear on the agenda tonight? If you do, come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Anybody?
Jackie Wenzel.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like it's on.
It was on. It's probably on. Rob, take care of that.
I got it. It's on it, man. Pump it up.
You didn't give me a chance. I'm a little older than you.
You don't move as fast either.
Check the batteries.
Yeah, it's fine. It was just on. I didn't rig it, I promise. It was just on.
Great.
You can't take this stuff.
No. just said.
Use Mike's mic.
Problem is, it's. Okay, you know what? I know.
Put the wall, you have a gun against your head, and somebody squeezing something.
Technical difficulties will be with you shortly.
It's gonna be a big boy. It's gonna be big.
Good job.
Retriever.
Right through the cable.
Hey, look at you. This is first class tonight.
I've been thinking we have to make something more comfortable for the citizens of the community. Hello? Okay, well, hello. Have to get this spacing correct. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, if you're about 8
Okay.
inches away, it modulates better.
All right, so Jackie Wenzel, 610 Deal Road. Before I get started, I'm just curious, why was this meeting held so early at 5 o'clock?
It's when we can get everybody together. We just had no other business to do. We didn't have a workshop tonight, just these two resolutions. So we always start at 5, public meetings, always at 5.
No, upstairs, but I mean,
That's open to the
most
public
people
at
don't
5.
come till 7 is the typical.
Right. That meeting's open at 5 as well to the public.
Right, okay, well,
Do you have a question
the
about the resolution?
filming, the typical movie that everyone watches doesn't start till 7,
Questions?
right?
This
most
is a question
people are
on the
used to that.
resolution, Jackie. You
No,
have-
I know, well, the reason I bring it up is you said you have this evening because you wanted public input.
Not here. Public input will be in the voting booth. Tonight was just a question. We're just putting a question on a referendum.
Yeah, but you wanted our input, that's why you were having it.
Well, we
correct?
got your input through the survey, Rob said. We got
But-
your input that we have a deer problem. We're going to discuss the deer management. So tonight, if you have a question about this resolution.
Well, my question was, why is the resolution being discussed at 5 p.m. when it's difficult? Most people are still at work. I think it was very last minute, and we weren't really given enough notice. So I want to make that statement. It's about the resolution. It seems like it's being rushed through.
It is. I'm going to tell you why. In order, folks, to get a resolution, or I'm sorry, a referendum question on a November ballot, there's a deadline of August 16th.
I understand
That
that.
juncture, and this is very important, two important questions I thought we'd like to hear from people on. So again, non-binding means we don't have to act on it either way, but it's good to hear from everybody, and it's the most democratic and easiest way to get everybody's input is to put it on a ballot question.
I
So there's
understand.
no harm putting this question out there, and we're going to do that. So if you have any questions about it, or if you have, your input really can come in the voting booth. That's when you'll have your say.
I know, but we're hoping it's not on the ballot.
Well, it's
Many
going
of
to be on
us.
the ballot, or it's going to be a question in the, or it'll be a question in the newsletter, which I don't think is fair because you won't have that many people respond to it.
Well, I guess my point is, if you wanted our input and us to be informed on it, 5 o'clock is difficult for people to leave their jobs and be here, and it seemed like it was kind of rushed through this meeting. I understand the day and the time to November. I read that in the paper. It was just the 5 o'clock was kind of startling for
Okay.
people because they couldn't be
You
here.
know, to be fair, we're going to have,
Is this being filled today?
yeah,
Yes.
you'll have your input, folks. We'll take input from you. Like I said, there won't be any action taken today, and there won't be any action taken even after the vote until we have a meeting, and then we'll have discussions on it. We'll take your input then.
So are you going to share are we going to get to read what the results of your survey were? Will the public be privy to that?
Yeah, I'm sure we can get the results of it and put it out there for you. Do you have anything with you, Rob, or no? No? Okay. If we find that, we can definitely put that online. Again, it's not...
It'll be interesting. We all participated in it. Maybe not
100%.
everyone, but I think many of us did. And to just see what side of the fence did it weigh out in. I guess the other thing in terms of the lethal bow and arrow or gun shooting or the
It wouldn't be a gun.
sterilization.
There's only two methods, and well, I shouldn't say two. It's either going to be a non-lethal method, which is one I would opt for myself personally, but it's not about me personally, or it'll be a bow hunt. There wouldn't be any gun shooting or anything like that.
But a bow hunt is not always the sure thing, as we
No,
saw.
but it's a common. It's what the county uses. It's what the state parks use. And if something like that were to come up here in Ocean Township, we'd probably partner, maybe even with the county or state, so it's done correctly and with rangers who know what they're doing and people who have done it before.
But remember a year or so ago, and you and I were both commenting on Facebook, there was that poor deer where the arrow was through his face, kind of through his nose and out his neck, and he was walking around like that. It was just heartbreaking. And I know you were going to call the police. None of us knew, of course, who had done that.
Well, we didn't even know where it was. They said it allegedly was here, but that could have been a picture taken off of Facebook. It happened somewhere, which is terrible. Okay. Well, I didn't see. I'm only saying because I didn't see it, and we had people looking all over for it. And I rode my bike. Okay. At any rate.
Well, I had actually spoken to Mr. Panic, who's the tree expert, who says that every tree in the park is dead or dying, and he told me they do bow and arrow hunting off season in Deal, and that it's been going on. I had never heard that before, and I thought that was pretty surprising because I do walk my dog around, not knowing that. I could have possibly been walking around the street that people are randomly shooting bow and arrows. And I think that's one of the main concerns right now with a hunt in a residential neighborhood, because as someone, actually, this wasn't my thought, I can't say it was, someone had said to me, well, that's crazy when they do that, because then once that gets out that you have hunting, then people come.
Yeah.
They know they can be a free-for-all.
To cut you off, but if other people may want to be heard. Anybody else, just raise your hand.
Well, I'm not going to talk all night. You're
not, because we're going to have 2 minutes per person, and
I
then
know.
you come back up again.
I know, but
I
you
just
just cut me off. It's really rude when you do that. You don't do that to everybody else, but you do it to
I'm going
me.
to cut you off right now for a second, and you can come back on. We have an ordinance now in town. You have to have 25 acres before you can hunt. Deal is different. So you can hunt and deal, I guess, on your own property. You can hunt in Ocean Township on your own property if you have 25 acres, which not many people have.
Okay.
I want to get that out there.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard on any questions on this resolution? Come on up to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please.
Julie Miller, Whale Pond Road, Oakhurst. So I wanted to ask, who's going to be on this committee? I know Mr. Achara is on the committee. Who's on the committee for this proposed hunt?
No, there's no proposed hunt. Right. There's no hunt even proposed yet. This is a question on a ballot.
What are we calling
it? May be a non-lethal method of management. It's a deer management.
Who's on the committee?
So a year ago, Mr. Long and myself were the two people that were the committee. So we coordinated the survey, we put it out, we collected the results, and I'm going to say, unless somebody else from the council is going to jump on the committee, right now it's me, but I'm sure there'll probably be all of us having these conversations. I think that was just to get the process rolling.
I thought I read in the article in the paper that there was a committee, so I thought there was 3 people they mentioned, or three-person committee.
Normally we can't have more than 2, since that would probably violate sunshine laws and meeting together with a majority of the council, but no, it was just Mr. Long and myself.
Okay, so are you a hunter?
This is a question. You have a question about the resolution.
I just need to know that, because it's the committee.
Okay. We'll have plenty of time to discuss this, Miss Miller, though. We really will. This is just
I
about
don't know that it's relevant, but no, I'm not.
Well, because the article said it was non-biased, so that would be relevant.
What was non-biased?
The committee would be non-biased to hunt or not to hunt, because the people...
Where did it say that?
You said it, actually.
Where did I?
In the coaster.
So I didn't say it then.
No, in the coaster. Yeah.
So I have the coaster here. So what did I say?
I thought it said non-biased.
Maybe it did.
Don,
did you say non-biased?
You got the coaster, buddy.
Yeah, I'm looking. Whatever. Okay, so I'm trying to be as impartial as possible. I am not a hunter.
Okay.
To answer your question.
Okay.
We're supposed to be talking about the wording and nature of the resolution.
This questions. It's the questions on the resolution itself. Not on. We're not here to interrogate anybody. This can come at another time. You can do this at a later date. When we have a meeting to discuss how we're going to manage them, then you folks can all be heard. Really, you'll be given an opportunity. I promise.
Mayor, and also, if the resolution that goes on for a referendum is voted down, this is a totally moot issue.
Well, they may vote for a non-lethal method, which will still have to come in and have discussion on how we're going to do a non-lethal method of management.
Who would do the wording for the resolution?
Our attorney.
Well, so can I answer that question?
Yeah.
So I just talked to Vinny, and the language of the resolution is here.
Yeah, this is the right. The referendum's not out yet. This is just a resolution to get the question on there.
Wait,
The-
so let's
hold
get
on, hold on.
clarification on that.
If you look at the resolution, okay, the question is on the resolution itself, okay?
That was news to me. And I
Okay.
didn't see an email from Marty today, Vinny.
It wasn't today, it was last week. There's an A and a B for resolution 145.
Right.
As we stand right now, that's going to be the question that's going to be on the ballot. Okay? Both resolutions have the actual question as it's going to appear on the ballot.
Okay, you said as it appears now, right? So,
Correct.
So you might or you definitely won't change it.
Well, it's not up to me. I just write the resolution. If there's a reason to change it, clearly the mayor and council will decide to change it.
Well, it's important because if it's clear, because sometimes these things,
I think it's pretty clear the
Here,
way.
as it is now, yes.
You
Yeah,
read
then we'll
it?
leave it like that.
Have you read the resolution?
Yeah, what you handed out.
Okay.
You can read it out loud if you wanted to.
So right now, there's two questions. The medical marijuana question is, should the Township of Ocean allow medical marijuana dispensaries to operate within the Township of Ocean limits? Question A. And B, should the Township of Ocean allow operation of facilities that cultivate and or distribute two medical marijuana dispensaries within the Township of Ocean limits? That's Resolution 144. And 145, the deer resolution. Should the Township of Ocean adopt a deer management policy by the mayor and council that is limited to the use of non-lethal methods only? Question mark. B, should the Township of Ocean adopt a deer management policy by the mayor and council that includes the use of lethal methods? So those are the current proposed language for the individual resolutions.
And that would
Correct.
appear on a ballot or
Yeah.
Correct.
in the voting machine.
In the voting booth. You can't talk unless you're.
What we're talking
Yeah.
about is
Yes,
the
but
right place.
sir, you're not being picked up on the mic, so you'd have to come up. In a minute when she's done. Okay.
And my next question, just as an aside, would you consider a resident to be on the committee, or is it just official council people?
Here's the thing. We haven't gotten to that part yet where we're going to decide on the management. Right now we're deciding on a question to get a feel from the public on which way they're leaning. And once that happens, then we'll have discussions on how we're going to go forward.
So you might consider that?
We may consider it. Depends on if it's a really close vote, we're probably going to put together a committee and figure out something. If it's unanimous one way or the other, we're having another discussion.
Okay,
Fair
thank
enough?
you.
Okay, thank you.
Vin, can I just ask a quick question? I mean, without sounding silly. So these are yes/no questions, right?
Correct.
So they could say no to both.
They could.
On either question.
Absolutely.
Or yes to both.
Absolutely.
So the question, I asked the question of the questions. So within the referendum, the day of the vote in the machine, you have an option of voting yes or no. So you could technically, correct. So technically you could vote yes to both,
Pretty simple.
yes or no, or no to both. So, and if I can just clarify, and I'm not questioning what the mayor has said, but there's three options: a lethal hunt, a bow hunt, sterilization, and candidly doing nothing. Because if everybody votes no on both, that could be the overwhelming vote. I don't know that that's going to happen. That is technically an option.
Sure.
Or a combination of the two, correct. As would be the case for the medical marijuana. You could vote no on both, yes on both, or mix it up.
Okay. Yes. Ellen, up to the microphone. State your name and address for the record.
Hello, Ellen Taylor, 43 Gimble Place, Ocean. I think both issues definitely warrant a position on the ballot. I also had an addition, if possible, the way we have for development and builders and the Shade Tree Commission, and they have to have X amount of tree replacement or a donation to a fund. I think it would be a really good idea if we created something similar, donation towards the sterilization or some aspect of controlling the deer, that there would be a fund that's established and whether there's grant money towards it if the referendum passes, but involve developers in town because we can't go backwards. The deer are here. And we have to find a way for the sake of the deer, the sake of the community, the general health,
Sure. So
to take care of the deer.
developer impact
limit
fee
it.
for deer management. Okay.
Yeah. So I
Very
think that
good.
would be a really good idea. And then as far as the medical marijuana, unfortunately, I know too many people who their only recourse because of some disease, some health situation, they can't take the pain medicine, they can't take the different things. The medical marijuana is the one thing they can do. And how gracious of us to have a dispensary here for them. And with the passage of the law in April, there's a lot of safeguards in there. It isn't what people are making it out to be, that they're going to be going and eating brownies all over the place. I mean, this is for true medical needs. And I have friends who have to travel 45 minutes, an hour, and that only adds to the hardship, which is the reason that they're actually needing the medical marijuana. So I just wanted on record that I think it's wonderful that this is going to be a referendum.
Right.
And that's it.
Take it from there. Thank you, Ellen. Eileen, state your name and address for the record.
Eileen Delito Chepizak, 39 Ben Lane at Cedar Village. I'm confused. We're not to give our opinion about this matter. We are just to discuss what's on that paper. I mean, it's very clear. So why this
Well,
meeting?
it's just we're just having a resolution to put the questions on the ballot.
I know
At
that.
that time, once that's resolved, then we can have discussions about it.
Well,
So then, I mean, all you have to do is read the resolution. It's very clear.
Right.
So what questions can you have about it? I don't
some
understand.
people may not want either question on the ballot. They may want us not to
But
vote.
is that what we're supposed to do?
Sure.
I said I'm confused.
Yeah, so one of
You
the
don't want
options...
my opinion right now.
I'd love to hear your opinion whether or not
I
you
was
want these
told-
resolutions passed or not.
Is that what's
Yeah.
about?
Sure, let me know. Let us know.
Okay. I was
Isn't it whether they
Well, that-
should be on the ballot or not?
Correct, that's right.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
the,
what
that's what
that's
she's
what the
saying.
resolutions are for.
Resolution is
You
passed.
said whether they're passed or not.
Whether
Well,
the
whether on the
resolution is
ballot.
passed.
well, I don't know if you know it or not, but there was a meeting held at least 6 or more years ago here,
Hmm.
before you were mayor, when Mr. Brannon was the manager, and they had someone from environmental something or other, and there were residents here. And we were given a booklet this thick on all the ways of controlling the overpopulation of deer. And then there was a committee formed that was going to go out and try to count the number of deer. I was there. I heard all this. What happened to that? Do you know?
Yeah, they had a deer count. We're not sure about how accurate it was. They did an infrared flyover, and they came up with a number. Then I don't know. In this last round, Rob, they had another count.
I mean, this is like
do it.
redundant because this took place 6 or more years ago.
so
And what came of it?
nothing.
Nothing.
And the booklet explained nothing came of it.
No,
We didn't do
we shouldn't
anything.
laugh, but
No,
but-
you shouldn't.
Well, but there
Well,
was there was nothing voted on either way, and I think again we're looking for input from the
Well,
town.
this problem's never going to be solved. I
Well,
can tell you that right
if
now.
we don't
You know
do
why?
anything, it won't be.
You know
Correct.
why? Because it's very obvious, common sense. It's overpopulated. They have nowhere to go.
That's not
So-
totally true.
That is true. I've
I'm
lived here
tell-
72 years.
Okay, and
I was here when there were dirt roads and farms.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no.
were there
bad-
deer then?
I didn't see them.
Okay,
See
so
why? Because there wasn't overpopulation. There were farms. There were acres and acres of land that weren't developed. Runyon Avenue. I know the whole thing about the township. Okay, 72
so if there
years.
were no deer there in 72 years
Not
ago,
in my backyard.
were there deer in town 72 years
Well,
ago?
I assume they were, but I hardly saw them.
That's my point. So over
The point is, there is too much development. Now, I spoke to the former Mayor Larkin about this about 20 years ago when he was on the town council. And he said that the township could not prevent developers from developing certain lands because you would be sued. And I don't know if that lawsuit is still going on.
Yeah.
You know how many years that's been?
15.
I'm sure you know.
15.
So what, where are we going with this? Because the more you develop, the less land the deer have.
Well, I'm not going to argue.
Okay, well, it's the truth. I mean,
Well, again,
it's common
with all due
sense.
respect, 72 years ago, there were no deer, and you had all the land.
No, there were deer, but they lived in the.
So I think
There were
why I asked
deer,
you.
but they weren't. They were
Go ahead,
in the
Eileen.
proper places where there were no homes or condos,
That's why I
etc.,
asked you that
etc.
question. I wasn't here 72 years
So,
ago. That's
Eileen-
why
Well, I was.
Eileen, the reason we're putting this on the ballot is
I know the
we need
reason.
a deer management solution,
Yeah, I know, but we discussed this almost 10 years ago.
and now it's time to do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's more development and there's more deer.
Regardless, right? So
I also
still
did
have
some
to do
research
something.
that, first of all, the bow,
Mm-hmm.
there is a very small spot in the deer that would kill them. And then I was told that the hunter has to follow the blood trail. Seriously? There's a very small spot that kills the deer with the bow. I'd rather you shoot them and kill them than to let them go and have a slow, seriously painful death. I mean, this bow and arrow is ridiculous. My niece, who's supposed to be here, spent. Well, she spent 2 hours with the manager of the county parks.
I visited.
Hold on, you
can't-
can't.
Well,
Hold
you
on.
can
You
speak,
have to be on a
Eileen. I
microphone.
didn't know you were here. I mean, this whole thing. Then we're going to be killing squirrels, and there's foxes in my backyard.
Yeah.
The bottom line is common sense. The more you develop, the less room for wildlife.
Great, thank you.
Hello. My name's Ari Wishkoff. I live at 22 Springhouse Road. I actually just bought that house with my wife. We lived in the manor at Wayside. And the reason I say that is that, we decided to stay in Monmouth County. We could have gone anywhere in the country, but we like it here. We've lived here for about 7 years now. And I've never been to one of these meetings before, but I saw someone notified me about what the topic was, and I felt strongly enough about the subjects that I should come. So one, I'm just going to give you the feedback like you asked for, right? One is the bow and arrow killing of deer in our county sounds very archaic, like going backwards hundreds of years. One of the reasons why we live here, why we chose to settle here, is because of the great park system and the wildlife. And most mornings I take a walk in the manor, and I cross the street, Poplar, and I go into Cotswold, and we see deer along the tree line eating. You see babies, you see dads, you see moms, and it's a beautiful thing. And it could be the nicest thing of my day on many days. So, I often think, so first of all, if you need to manage some deer, there's a better solution than going back hundreds of years to bow and arrow shooting. Number two is, I think sometimes in life when we have to make a decision, you should incorporate the what would the children think process. So I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I would be embarrassed to be at dinner to tell them that in our county we are killing deer with bow and arrows. We are opening up medical marijuana dispensaries. I mean, we should be trying to attract a family environment, and I think there's something missing. There's a lot of empty businesses along Route 35 now, along Monmouth Road on my drive here, and I just think that whoever came up with these ideas, we're sort of veering off track. You need to get back on track, focus on what builds up towns, cities, what attracts people to live here, and it is things like the park system, the wildlife system, the wildlife, natural beauty at a reasonable cost. And I tend to agree with the lady before me, by the way, that deer's natural population is in the woods. You didn't see them 72 years ago because they lived in the woods. We are encroaching on their territory. We ought to be developing land that's already developed. Take Houlihan's, take that's on Route 35 that's boarded up and empty. There's that play area up on 35 near the mall that's empty. I would encourage you to think about preserving the open space. That's why people move here. Good quality people move here. And rebuild the empty buildings first. There should be a law that requires a developer to do that.
Without, go ahead, Chris.
Well, no, I'm just saying we're here about the resolution, so you're not in favor of the resolution.
I think you open up the door through medical marijuana dispensaries to just regular manufacture of marijuana, that it's just a precursor to what's next. And we've all lived our lives. In general, if you're a healthy person and you use marijuana, can lead to bad things in your life. And
Okay.
I don't think we want to be setting that kind of example for our children. It's just not healthy.
So are you in favor of a resolution or no?
So you're not in favor of putting the resolutions on the ballot? A referendum?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
And I think you need to define lethal also when you talk about how to manage the deer population. People are on the spot when they're in a voting booth. They don't always fully understand the question. You should say lethal, for example, bow hunting.
Well,
Mm-hmm. That was no.
Because people won't really get it. And they probably just won't vote.
Gotcha.
They'll probably just skip it. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks. You're next, Russ.
Hi.
Name and address.
Jennifer Zarcone, 510.5 Palmer Avenue, West Allenhurst.
Zarcone.
State the name again.
Jennifer Zarcone with a Z like zebra. And I really hate public speaking, but I really love deer, so sorry if I'm nervous. My first question is about the first line of the resolution. You just said we don't really have documentation that we don't have a deer count, and we don't really have documentation that the deer population is increasing then. It just seems like it's anecdotal. And also, along with the deer population, if it is increasing, the greenland and the open space is actually decreasing. So that's part of the issue. And I don't think it's stated in a way that, states the actual problem. I think it's kind of leading to say that the deer population is increasing and not saying that the land is also decreasing and that it's wreaking havoc, because it's not necessarily all the deer population increasing that's wreaking havoc. It's also the fact that there's nowhere for them to go.
Just to let you know, the only language that's going to be on the ballot are the questions.
Okay.
That's it. The initial part from the whereases is not going to appear on the ballot.
Okay. We were talking about the resolution, so I was trying.
I want to make sure we understood.
Because there is no actual count that says the deer population is increasing, correct?
what was the question? I'm sorry.
There's no actual documentation of the deer population increasing,
I
right?
think the number of deer that have been killed on Deal Road and Whale Pond.
So is there documentation of
Sorry,
that?
can I
The amount
finish?
of...
I'm sorry.
Is there documentation of that?
The number of deer that have been hit in town over the course of many years has continued to increase.
Okay. But that's not necessarily deer population. It could be human population. More cars, less open space also, correct?
Let me just go on record. I don't have an opinion one way or the other,
No,
but I'm just
I'm
trying to answer
exactly.
your question.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, the way this
was.
was written just seems like it's blaming it on the deer population, and that's not necessarily the truth.
Well, so let me just put it out there. God forbid somebody gets killed because a deer crosses the road. Are we going to blame it on open space?
Kinda. I'm not gonna blame it on a deer.
Listen,
Are you gonna blame it on a deer that has nowhere else to go? Right? You don't blame. I'm not going to blame it on anybody. Actually, that's not what I'm here for.
That's what we're trying to prevent. God forbid.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm just saying the way it's written, though, is sort of blaming the deer, and it's setting a tone that makes.
I think, Jen, it's just a statement. We recognize that we have a deer problem now for all the reasons you folks stated: overdevelopment, absolutely, all that. But nonetheless, it's a problem because they don't have the area to go that they used to have. So now we need to manage them. It'd be irresponsible for us not to manage them. One way, like I said, I live with Lisa. I'd have to say I'm for non-lethal method, Lisa. You know that. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to hear from everybody. Then we can decide how we're going to manage it. That's really just a question. We're not there to blame anybody.
It was just the first line I read, and I was like, well, I don't even know if that's the case. Okay.
I got you.
My second question is about the resolution, the referendum itself. Because it's do you think people will see it as A or B? Like either it's lethal or it's the other way, but not doing anything, it doesn't seem like that's an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It doesn't really give you
Can
the...
there be an option C of do nothing?
We could.
Yeah.
Yes. But nonetheless, it's incumbent on us to come up with a management solution. So, listen... Hopefully, everybody goes in and votes for a non-lethal method, and we're good to go.
So so then what? So you say that my other question is about the process, if that's okay. So you said like after there'll be a referendum, that doesn't mean like
it's non-binding.
It's etched in stone or anything. So then what's the process after that? Then once there's a referendum and you have the results,
take that information to council, and we'll have discussions about. Okay, listen, we're at a point now where we got this information. Now we know there's a deer problem. We've heard from the public. Do we want to proceed now with a method of management? And which method are we going to go with? Are we going to listen to the people? Are we going to do this? Are we going to, we'll have more discussions on it. But I think it's a good to at least give folks the opportunity to express themselves.
Okay.
If a lot of people are against it, really the ones who are against it have nothing to worry about.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it would be nice if it was clearer that there was
a C.
A C. Yeah. A none of the above.
No. Then you put C down.
And then So clearly. And then as far as the medical marijuana thing goes, I think maybe if there's a little more marijuana, and people wouldn't care about the deer so much.
Okay.
There you are.
It's the first thing I agree with.
Thank you, Jen. Russ had this. Come on up.
That's good.
State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Russ Bay, 700 Bound Road, Wayside. Thank you for your attention. Living here 13 years. I came down here to buy a house. I was driving around one night, and I was introduced to the Township of Ocean by a deer running into my Cadillac and creating $2,000 worth of damage at night. The deer don't go to sleep at night; they roam around, and that's a very severe traffic problem. Be that as it may, I live up in Bound Road, and the deer are now migrating up to my area right now. And I've seen them in my neighbor's yard, and live on the corner of Bound and Deal. Secondly, this concept of open, where the deer are just going to be in open space. Deer do not know anything about open spaces or parks. They go where they want to go, so that's going to be a problem. I think this is going to have to be addressed rather quickly. Third, I drive down Deal Road a lot, and I drive up and down at night, and you don't see the deer when they're crossing the road. They just shoot out, and there's many times that I've had to stop short. And one day there's going to be a problem, because if you have to stop short and there's a car behind you and you get rear-ended, then you're going to have a problem. Worse than that, heavens forbid, if there's a school bus and you have to stop short or you have to swerve to the right or left, there's going to be a catastrophic problem. So I think... Excuse me? Thank you. So I think we're going to have to address the problem, and I don't particularly believe it's going to be addressed by the first resolution with non-lethal methods. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to do some critical issues right now, because at one time there's going to be a very serious fatality, and then everyone's going to get real about this. I have nothing more to say on the marijuana issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So you're in favor of putting the you're in favor of the resolution?
Yeah,
Putting the questions on the.
yeah.
Anybody else?
Hi, Mark Comer, 3 Marissa Court. First small comment, there were 2 rather large bucks in my front yard last night with a number of points on their antlers, which is an unusual sighting at my house. Usually we have family of doe and, fawns. But anyway, this really just pertains to the wording of the questions. And I think you have a problem with the one having to do with the deer, in that you're trying to gather information. If you have A as a question where they say yes or no, and you have B, which is a question which says yes or no, you may get meaningless information, because if they say yes to it should be limited to non-lethal methods only, and then they say yes to should it include the use of lethal methods also, then what does that tell you? Nothing. It tells you that people didn't understand the question. So I think you want to design your questions in a way that people, idiot-proof them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you what the right way to do it is, but the way you have it structured right now, I don't think it's ideal.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Matt now you gave Matt a job to reword it.
Well,
The first one does say only.
well, one says non-lethal only, and then B says you have a deer management policy that includes.
Right. If they say yes to both, what does that tell you?
That tells you that people want
Some sort of
non-lethal.
management.
Then they're not reading the question.
Bingo. So that's why I'm saying try to construct a question, 2 questions that get past that issue, if you can.
Let me just
Yeah,
jump in.
What do you got to say, Vin?
Here's we wrote the question. This is what I thought. When you look at the questions, okay, A says you want to use non-lethal methods only, okay. I may be in favor. B says we're going to use lethal methods for B, okay. I may be in favor that we need a deer management plan, but do not want to use lethal methods, okay. So, but I'm in favor of a deer management plan where we use non-lethal methods. I don't think you're going to see people vote yes on both of them. I think they're contrary. So you're going to say non-lethal methods only
I know what you're saying.
versus lethal methods.
I totally follow what you're saying, and you're thinking about it.
Okay.
Okay. The issue here is that you're trying to gather information that you can use to make a decision and a plan of action.
Correct.
If you set up your questions in a way that if people don't really think about it and they say yes to both, it's going to be meaningless information for you.
So I think what you're saying, and I hear it, we should separate the question. Should the township adopt a deer management policy? Period. Should it be A, non-lethal, or B, lethal?
Or if you, or however you want to do it, or
It's
just
a yes
make
or no. It's a yes or no question.
or make it clear that if you're going to say yes to A, you can't say yes to B, or you know what I
You
mean.
can't tell the voters how to vote. You can't say you can only say yes to one of those. Okay, you got to give.
No, you can say one either or. You can tell them they can say yes to both. If it's okay if they say yes to both.
There's going to be a yes or no next to
Right.
each of those questions.
Okay, so then you should try to design a questions where you can't say yes to both, because if they say yes to both, it's meaningless
But then
information.
No, because you're trying to gauge their. They may say yes to both. They may say no to both. The people that don't want anything done to the deer population are going to say no to both questions.
Okay, that would be fine.
So then what
That would be contradictory.
Then what would be opposing to them saying yes to both of those questions?
Because because question A, if you say yes, it says limited to non-lethal methods. If you say yes to the second one, it says you use lethal methods. So you can't say yes to both.
I would think that the voting populace would know what the word only means.
Would know what?
What the word only means.
That's why the first one has the word only, because it's only
Okay,
non-lethal.
look, you asked people if they had any suggestions.
You have any suggestions
about,
on how to change
or
the question?
comments about this?
Okay, do you have any suggestions?
Every other person who's been up here has given you their opinions about should we kill deer, should we not kill deer, is there a problem, is there overpopulation, is there too much open space, what are we doing with the development on this corner of 35 and Deal?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually giving you constructive information and criticism about how you might make this a more useful question.
And I'm asking you, as the
Yeah.
person who crafted the resolution, do
I'm
you
not
have
the
any
person who crafted
suggestions?
the resolution.
No. as someone who crafted the resolution myself,
Oh, okay, fine.
I'm asking you,
Right.
do you have any suggestion on how we can craft this question?
I'm not sure what the limitations are on what you can say. Are you allowed to give any instruction other than answer yes, no to either one? Can you say something like, if you say yes to one, you can't say yes to two or something like that?
I don't believe you can. I believe it's a yes or no on both, but again, we can talk.
I know you're not Marty. I'm sorry, I don't know your first name.
Matthew.
Not good.
Matthew, thank you.
I mean, I guess the bottom interpretive statement to say that if you, and again, I'm not being facetious here when I say the interpretive statement of if you think you should be using it only, vote for A. If you, again, I'm just the language is clear to me, but the only I can't even think of an explanation which just says if we're putting in not adopt a policy as a third question, then and the first one says non-lethal only, it's the inclusion of the lethals. So what happens? So really, that's the
Here's my issue is as somebody that has to give this to the county clerk to put on the ballot. My concern is that we don't in any way influence how somebody votes. You want to leave this open to the voters to vote however they choose. So if somebody chooses, while it may seem crazy, if somebody chooses to vote yes for both of those, or no for both of those, or yes for one or the other, we got to give the voter that opportunity. I don't want to put something on the ballot that in any way guides somebody on how they need to vote. That's my concern about doing it in such a way, and why we did it this way to
Well, I
give
think
the
the
voter
third question,
the
Mark,
opportunity.
by putting that third question on it, someone had mentioned, or do nothing, maybe might clear that up a little bit. What do you think?
What about using or?
Just
Only
put or
or.
between. Can't you say you can't do this? You can't do this.
You're saying or, the word or?
Or.
Yes. Can you not say choose one, A or B?
It's not a choice.
No, because
But it's, not,
apparently
it's a yes or no
the yes or
question.
no question.
It's not an A or a B. You can't say choose A or choose B. It's yes A or no A. Yes B or no B. It's no different than any other question that ever appeared on a ballot. It's a yes or a no. It's not a and or, choose two from column A, three from column B. It's a yes or a no for every question that goes to the voter.
Okay, well, if I
We
think
will-
of something before
Please
the
do.
meeting ends, I'll say something.
Please do.
Okay,
Vinny, I'm
thank
gonna
you.
throw something out. Can you put only after the second one as well? I'm asking. I don't really.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Hi, Mary Parmenter, 269 Roosevelt, Oakhurst.
I'm sorry.
Mary Palmer, Mary Palmer, 269 Roosevelt
Yep. Okay.
Avenue.
The first referendum about the marijuana, I have no issues as it
A
stands.
little closer, Mary. Mary,
I'm
just
sorry.
that's a little closer.
Oh, sorry. Very nervous. I haven't spoken.
Doing great.
in
We're all
public.
friends here. At least 2, 3 of us are.
The
I don't know.
last gentleman that was up here. I also have a problem with.
So you can hear.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, otherwise the video won't pick you up. You have to talk into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
With the wording, to me, I agree. It seems very clear. But someone going into the ballot, just fresh, not having any of this background, it does seem kind of like either or. That was my first impression. If they haven't been to these meetings or gone to Facebook, I see them having a dilemma. Like it's either going to be A or B. Frankly, I'm all for deer management from not just overdevelopment, but an environmental issue. 32 acres. Without control, 32 acres, if we don't develop it, is not going to mature into a forest. It's going to remain secondary. Anyway, if there could be like an instruction, maybe you can answer both or none. So this way, I'm for non-lethal if it's cost effective. Lethal if we have no other options. So I would vote yes to both. That's how I would walk into it, meaning I'm for deer control. Somebody else would see it as well. I'm not going to answer anything because I don't want a deer hunt.
Gotcha.
I don't know how you do
Okay,
it, though. I
so
have
we're
no
leaving
We'll let the
over
attorney figure it out.
how to pose it.
Sorry.
We'll let the attorney figure it out.
Right.
Ah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
I'm Roy Larson at 1517 Logan Road. Try to be clear, I think both of these items should be put up to the public to be voted upon to find out what they want to do. I don't have a real opinion on the medical marijuana one way or the other, but I do have friends who could benefit from it. So I'd like that question to be aired publicly. The thing about the deer population, the deer management, I had a long conversation with my son last night, who also lives at my home, class of 97 here in Ocean Township. And he wrote me a note this morning. He said, "Dad, if you have a chance, could you share this information at the meeting?" Do I have permission? You're going to say no? No, he's a very objective individual. You know, I tend to get on one side of an issue or another. He said, "Dad, it's the facts and only the facts." So he writes this and says, "This is a complex issue, and we need to take the emotion out of it. Yes, overdevelopment has squeezed deer and other animals out of their habitat, but the flip side of that coin is that's what humans have been doing for centuries because that's our nature. I have no doubt that everyone feels for the deer population, which is why it's being discussed. But the specific issue here is how do we maintain the equilibrium of their population and the resources on which they have to live. Two things that aren't going to happen are people slowing down the speed at which they develop and deer going extinct." I found this interesting. The whitetail deer population in the 1930s was around 300,000. Currently, it's around 27 million. So why are we seeing more? There are a lot more deer. Due to the fact that the only two natural predators of deer around here are humans and coyotes. The only things that will cull the deer population are really disease and starvation, unless they naturally die. And unless we allow professional hunters to humanely cull that population in order to let the remaining deer live healthy lives instead of subsisting on what they can find, which sometimes means devastating our landscapes, and we all see that, if not thousands of dollars and so on. He says sterilization is not worked very often because other bucks come in from other areas and it backfires, indicating hunting a percentage of the population is the only feasible way to bring that population to a manageable number for the deer as well as for us. And we should use professionals in order to mitigate any accidents that may happen. And I'll leave his comment about the deer with the arrow sticking out of it, although I promised him I would leave it in. It was a little distasteful. But his stance is we need to have this discussion. We're not living in a Disney movie. It is tough out there for the deer and other animals to survive with the situations they're born into. And the question is, which is more responsible? Let the deer roam and multiply unhindered, thus perpetuating the starving deer population and potential car accidents, or humanely culling the deer population in a way that will keep the healthy deer population around. I thought he did a good job of laying that out. Again, I welcome the discussion. I welcome the issues on the ballot.
Okay. So yes to putting the question on the referendum.
Mr. Larson, can you just real quick repeat those numbers again? That 300,000 up to how many was that?
It's 27 million.
Okay.
That's
throughout the country, correct?
And that's what people sustain though.
I would say I can't tell you what. It's certainly not Ocean Township.
Seems that way.
I could certainly ask. I would imagine it's U.S. based information. He tends to research himself pretty well, and he usually proves me wrong on most things. But I could certainly follow up on that if you'd like.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Larson, your son is very well spoken. Tell him we may have a committee for him.
Good.
All right. You know what? I can't not say this because he told me I have to say this. All right. If I use his statements, he said, like the ones we saw last week when some absolute jackass shot a deer twice without killing it. So, and I agree with him.
Right. Amateurs, right.
Amateurs. We need pros. And, just a parting comment, and then I'll get off the stage here. I am so thrilled that there's an open forum in this town government. I have friends living in towns near here where things get done by the mayor without open meetings, without a lot of debate. They just happen. So the openness of this town's politics and government is terrific.
We're here to serve you. Thanks, Roy. All right.
Angela,
I
you're
think
next.
if you guys would
See,
give
you
me
trying to get up every time.
If you guys would give me 2 minutes, I think we have
An interpretive
came up
statement.
with a new list of questions that hopefully will
That's
satisfy
going to
people's
evoke
concern.
more thought from Mark now. He's going to come back up and
Well, hopefully Mark will like what we came up with.
we'll see.
Okay. For the deer management only. Should the Township of Ocean should the Township of Ocean use only non-lethal methods as a deer management policy? Should the Township of Ocean use only lethal methods as a deer management policy? Should the Township of Ocean not adopt any deer management policy? And should the Township of Ocean use both lethal and non-lethal methods as a deer management policy? 4 questions. Satisfies. We'll fix the order. We'll fix the order. We just wanted to get the concepts down.
Brilliant.
That works.
Brilliant.
Right, so hopefully that satisfied Mark. Hopefully that took your concerns and we cleared them up. Hopefully.
Yes. 27 people in the room are mad. Mark's happy now. He's got his.
I can't take credit. I want to thank our attorney for doing that real quick.
Thank you. Brilliant. Brenda?
Brenda Horshman, Arbor Way. The dispensaries, the medical marijuana, I need to have a little bit more education and knowledge about that.
Thank you.
But I do have a sibling that could definitely benefit from it. But in my opinion, I think that it would be best served in the property of Fort Monmouth. Something like that. Fort Monmouth would be a great place for a lot of things like this. I am in favor of the resolutions so that the residents can have a voice, and I appreciate the fact that you do have an open forum that in the future too, to have future meetings to discuss this. I think it is very wise. Living in Wayside, I've been in Ocean Township my entire life. 4 years in Oakhurst and the rest in Wayside. I remember when from Route 35 all the way to Kepwell, it was all
Nothing.
farms. Every inch of it was farms. We used to sleigh ride down Cold Indian Springs Hill Road. But I never remembered seeing a deer in that area. Despite all the farmland, I never saw a deer. I have had some in my yard, but I can count on one hand how many I have seen in my yard. A few on Bound Road, but not that many. I walk in Palea Park. I enjoy seeing any of the wildlife. If I see them, I sit on the bench and quietly watch them. I get aggravated if somebody comes by on roller skates or bicycle and disturbs them because I want to be able to enjoy it. So that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda.
Come over here and sit over here so you're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm actually not from Ocean Township. I'm from Eatontown.
Next. Oh my God.
I'm your neighbor. I live off of Whale Pond, but I went to the meeting that Miss Chepizak went to
Name and
about
address,
10
please.
years.
Don't need your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eileen Cooper, 45 Jamestown Road, Eatontown. I went to the meeting 10 years ago that Miss Chepizak had spoken about deer management, and the person that she spoke about, I'm sorry I was late to the meeting, was talking about that the town was going to investigate perhaps birth control. There were, was anybody at that meeting by chance?
I was.
Okay. Do you remember all the Middletown residents coming to that meeting and telling them what happened? Well, in case anyone else didn't know, all the Middletown residents came and they did bow and arrow shooting behind this woman's park. Can't remember it now. And all she would have to do is keep calling the Middletown police to humanely kill the deer, that one arrow hit the deer. They're supposed to follow a blood trail, and they don't. And she showed the town all of her bills because she had to have them removed at her own expense because the park behind her was a county park. And I did a lot of research. I went to the county parks as well as I called Penn State, so I'm not just talking. And they said that of marksmen who do bow and arrows, do you know what percentage of them get and kill a deer in one shot? What would you guess?
40.
40. No, try again.
41.
Under 5% get it on the first shot. The deer does not have a big heart. They have to get it directly into the heart to kill it. Then they have to follow the blood trail. I asked the County Parks Commission, who monitors that? How do you know that they're really going to follow them? And you know what the answer was? We don't. So where do they end up? In people's yards. And they have to call and kill them. You have to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
We're not taking any action.
No, I'm just saying that bow and arrow is a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just telling you.
Here's
At the
thing.
meeting also.
The resolution says lethal, and it doesn't really specify bow and arrow.
Okay.
So,
Well, it should.
well, maybe it shouldn't because it sounds like that's not a very effective way. Maybe they have to shoot them. I don't know.
I mean, I wasn't here in the first 15 minutes. Did anyone talk about birth control of any sort?
Yes.
And
On the here's the thing.
I mean, I'm not voting in here, but I'm just. I love your park. I love your deer.
And I think I made the statement, I'm personally for a non-lethal method, but I'm one of 27,332 people that live here, so I thought it's best to hear from everybody.
Yes, I agree.
This is a non-binding referendum question, just to get a feel for, we recognize we have a deer problem, we need to have deer management. How would you folks like us to handle it? And we're putting it out to you. So, we're hearing both sides, we're hearing what you're saying. It's really, I didn't want to get into that until we got to that point.
I understand that. But I know I missed the beginning, Mayor, but do you know the population of Pelea Park?
Of the deer? Mm-hmm. They had given us a count, which I think is 10% of what's really there. 387. And I think there's much more there than that. And that was about 8 years ago.
We came here 10 years ago. There were a group of us. And the whole idea was to feed them so we could get a count. Mm-hmm. And then we learned after several weeks and being on patrol that an average deer travels 50 miles per day, not from point A to point B, but in a circle.
So they're not just on that 32 acres.
No, meaning like you might see them on the south side, the north side, the west side.
Eaton Town.
Right.
Exactly.
Because they don't know the border.
Okay. So you don't know how many, nor does the county, but they're just letting them kill. They're offering 50% sale in Monmouth County now. That if you want to kill 3 deer, you get 50% off your license, which is barbaric and disgraceful. That I live in a county now who's offering big headlines in 2 River Times, 50% off if you kill more than 3 deer. And yet when I went to their administration, they were unable to tell me how many deer per park. They were also unable to tell me of the 687 deer that were killed in 2018, how many were from each park. Right. So they're just killing. They're just opening up to killing, which is, all right, another story. Anyway, so my neighborhood, and I'll end with this, my neighbors claim that there is 100 to 200 deer, and I live up the street off of Well Pond. You know where Jamestown is. So I decided, since there were deer in my backyard, and by the way, that was not developed 66 years ago. We went berry picking back there. There were deer back there. Not a ton, but there were because they used to hide. So it's not like they weren't there. Anyway, so I've done a count for the last 7 years in my neighborhood, Jamestown, whatever have you. And in the summer months and spring, I have pictures of them. I have one that had a broken leg. I still have her picture. There is only 8 to 10 deer that travel in that area. In the wintertime, 13, 17. Yet my neighbors will tell you there's 100 in my neighborhood. And I've been in Pelea Park hundreds of times, and I don't even think there's 300 in there. But anyway, one other thing that...
I'm going to cut you off now. I'm going to tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because I have Ocean Township residents that want to be heard.
Okay.
And you're probably not going to see this question on the ballot, but
no.
Thank you for the info. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and just one thing. When you cull deer and there's less deer, they become healthier and they reproduce more.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Okay.
Angela Yost, 379 Lake Avenue in Oakhurst. I am in favor of the resolution. I appreciate living in a community where we can vote and be heard that way. Going forward, though, with the resolution on the deer, and I think, I understand you to say that this is still evolving, how this is going to be handled, but it seems like, you're talking about an organized hunt in Palea Park. Where would it be?
Again, the question is, will more people be in favor of a lethal or non-lethal method of management? Once we get that information, then we can decide how. Here's what would happen. In the event it's a lethal method, we would consult with the state and the county, because they do it now, on how, when, what's safe, what's the best practices, etc. We wouldn't just open it up to the public works and say, have at it.
Okay.
So be extremely, it's done now in Monmouth County.
Right.
Our freeholders approve this every year. They authorize the hunt.
Okay.
So I'm not saying I'm for that. Again, I think I'm on the record. George knows my fiance Lisa. He knows where I'm at with that. But that being said, we're not at that point yet, Angela. We're just really trying to see where people are with how they want Ocean Township to manage their situation. We have a deer population problem. We know that because we got that information already. Now how to manage them.
Okay. So going forward, though, I just would like to ask you, I have a problem with illegal hunting.
Yes.
I've talked to you about it. I've talked to several of you about it. And everybody here heard you say it's only allowed if you own 25 acres and you hunt on your own property.
Correct.
But this debate has been going on for months and months
There's
and months.
people traveling that brook behind you.
I've worked with Detective Tongren. There's tree stands, there's cameras. I thought the chief might be here to help clarify the law, but people get angry. You go and take their stuff down, they get mad. We've been letting the police handle it because we really should do that. But it's a big debate. So I just want to ask you, going forward, if you could publicly clarify what the ordinance is, so we can stop this, because people get really angry. And I kind of feel it's an invasion of privacy if I'm walking through the woods and someone's hunting camera is there. It's not allowed, is it? Or is it?
Whose property is it?
It's public well, that's wetlands. I believe the town owns it.
So is that's not the West Long Branch border, right? I think I've asked you that before.
They put them everywhere.
Yeah.
We've seen them in different locations. If we walk our dogs, back there, and you'll see a tree stand, or, you got to know where to look because they're slick and they kind of blend in. But, I would hope that if people aren't allowed
to hunt,
individual, to put a camera
right
on public property. If it's your own property, you want to put a camera there, that's your business. But can we please clarify this going forward?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
We've heard from you already, young lady. Well, I just want to hear from people who haven't been heard from. Eddie? State your name and address for the record, even
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I call you Eddie.
Yeah. My mother doesn't call me anymore. Ed Horn, 1901 Logan Road in Wanamassa. For the legalized marijuana, the medical marijuana, I don't know too much either way about it. I do know people that use it for either head trauma or body pain and works wonders for them. So it doesn't affect me right now. As for the deer population, I know the gentleman earlier stated how would he bring it up to his children. At the age of 13 years old, I received my hunting license. To this day, I still hunt with both bow and arrow and shotgun. I fish. My 12-year-old son, for his 12th birthday, received his hunting license. Okay. I'm sorry that you feel it's ridiculous. It was the way I was brought up. Okay. I teach my children how to live outdoors and everything else. I found a wonderful article regarding deer, and I'd like to read it to you. As we go about our busy lives, the sight of deer dashing between cars on a busy roadway is a sight that has become too familiar in New Jersey. With the deer population rising expeditionally, our communities are faced with drastic consequences. To combat these problems, many towns have authorized government-sponsored deer hunts. I partake in the county deer hunt. I'm logged in their permit book. I notify the county when I have a deer. Okay. To combat these problems, many towns have authorized government sponsor deer hunts. Many believe hunting is an effective solution to the current deer epidemic, while others believe hunting to be morally unjust. While hunting may seem like a cruel practice, it can be beneficial to both the environment and the deer population as a whole, if regulated properly. Despite killing individual deer, hunting is beneficial to the deer population because there is not enough food to sustain the current numbers. As we see in town, my father and I had to erect a metal fence around his trees because the deer keep eating the trees. If you drive down the streets, they're all about 4 feet high. That's because the deer are eating them. They're starving to death. When I was 14, I worked on a farm. They would break open pumpkins and leave them. I watched deer eat an entire pumpkin this past fall. Several of them, which is really rare if you ever worked on a farm. Every herbivore has a natural predator that keeps its population checked to prevent environmental damage and unhealthy population sizes. There are not enough predators in New Jersey to keep the deer population in check. And if we don't do something, deer will continue to rise in numbers until they run out of food and starve to death. Controlled hunting can bring the deer population to a size that is best for them. As a result, the surviving deer will be able to live healthy lives, and there will be enough food to support the new population size. Another negative consequence associated with oversized deer population is the devastation of certain types of vegetation, which impacts the entire ecosystem. Trees accessible to deer are declining in numbers and more than they can reproduce. On the other hand, species of plants that are untouched by deer are now rising in numbers. This is simple change and affects countless other species of animals that depend on certain trees to survive. And the domino effects will continue as long as there are too many deer overwhelming the forests of New Jersey. Controlled hunting will bring the deer population down to a more reasonable number, restoring the balance of our ecosystem and protecting countless other species that are currently being threatened. As deer continue to rise in numbers, they must occupy a greater area, increasing their chances of encountering people. Deer can jump out onto the highway at any time without warning. Anybody who drives down Deer Road at night knows that. Okay. According to the National Highway Safety Administration, the NHSA, there are about 1.5 million deer accidents annually. The accidents cause about 10,000 injuries, 175 to 200 deaths, and over $1 billion in vehicle damage per year. If the deer population was smaller, less people and less deer would suffer from these accidents. Ultimately, while hunting may seem like a cruel practice, it can be beneficial to the environment if regulated properly. As the deer population increases, other life within our ecosystem is negatively affected as plants consumed by deer decline in numbers. This causes plants not consumed by deer to grow in abundance and inverting the natural balance of our forest, affecting many other species and results. It keeps going on, but that's all I got for now. So I am in favor of the deer hunt.
So
I'm sure you will regulate it to areas, because I heard a question before, what if it goes to my house? Guarantee the town council will not allow within probably 500 yards of a house. And anybody can shoot an arrow 500 yards is...
Olympics.
That's better than the Olympics. Okay, thank you.
And Javi, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
Okay, because people have brought it up, and it's a number that concerns me too. The accuracy of a hunter. They say 5 to 10% or 5% on a kill shot. Is that?
It's about 5 to 10%. I do follow my bullet trails. Okay, so we take care of it when we do find it, and I think in all my years I was unable to find one.
So when the county has an organized hunt, and you say you're part of that, you were able to sign up for that?
Yes. And
is there a ranger, is there somebody that controls that so a wounded deer is not running about a neighborhood with an arrow sticking out of it and horrifying?
There's really not much for the ranger to control it.
Okay.
I mean, I could hit the deer and it could go 2 miles. So, I mean, I've hunted deer on a blood trail for up to 4 hours.
There's nobody with a mercy shot behind you or watching, is what I'm saying. No, they don't do that? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I was just told that rangers, just so you know about rangers, Mayor, rangers are there to pick up trash and maintain the park. They're not there to supervise hunters.
Thank you. George?
George Scandalis, 23 Daniel. I think they were kind of operating in a vacuum. Nobody really has definitive information. We don't know how many we're talking about. No one's ever done an FLIR study. Nobody's ever really considered bringing in a professional to talk about what the ramifications are of doing contraceptive way of attacking this problem or a hunting way of a hunting solution. We don't have any.
We did do that.
We did do that, and we will do that again. We did do that last year when we. What happened was this was part of the New Jersey Game of Wildlife thing, that Fish and Wildlife that we followed, and so Bob and Rich got all the information, and they painted by the numbers. You put this questionnaire out. Each side came in for a talk. We will have that for the public also, but they did come in and they talked about the contraceptive alternatives and also the lethal.
Yeah, there are towns like everybody has Google, so you Google everything.
Yeah.
And there are towns in New York that do the contraceptive things, and there are towns in New Jersey that do the hunting thing. And who's more successful? I don't know. I didn't do that study, but everyone's got a little bit of information. But I don't think anybody can actually make a real decision until more is out there.
Well, part of what the referendum question is going to be is if you feel strongly about it, you're going to vote a certain way. Ed feels strongly about it, he's going to vote a certain way. And from that information, again, still non-binding, then we'll see what the numbers say, then we'll discuss it, then we'll bring in those people on both sides.
Okay.
And say, hey,
see, that's fair.
Talk to us about
that's absolutely fair.
This management control and this way to manage them, and then we can take it from there.
I live in Hidden Meadows. We have 300 some odd acres.
Right.
Our deer are right in there.
Right.
That's where they're at. I see them every day.
I remember when that was a woods.
We're happy with them. They don't do anything. They eat the flowers. We plant geraniums.
That's
they don't
you.
eat them. It's all good. But I know that the rest of the town doesn't have that. So I would like to see something that's fair for everybody. But at the same time, I'm not in for the bloodlust or the
Gotcha.
And I'm also concerned about the fact that Paloya Park is ringed by houses on 3 sides and a state highway on the 4th. That's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? You're going to tell people, don't let your kids out today.
There is
Don't go out
again,
in the yard.
We're not at that point yet, but evidently there's hours that they do this. There's notification that goes out. They close the park. Like Ed said, they keep it 500 feet from homes, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
If we get to that point, then we'll have more discussion.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thanks, George. Well, I think Jackie wanted to come up first. You wanted to come up?
I'll come up at the end.
Hi, I just.
No, go ahead.
That was a joke, not for you, not to you.
What was it about?
It's the deer itself. Something
Okay.
else.
No, I'm just really learning today about this Monmouth County hunt. I mean, and we are part of Monmouth County, correct?
Still.
Yeah.
So, do they hunt here and are already? Are they hunting here?
Not
Ocean Township?
No.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
But it's legal in Monmouth County.
Well, the golf courses are private. They hunt, and I believe I don't know if Welts Park has it or not.
Not based on the research. we
Not
did.
the ocean side. The Eatontown side might.
So they are hunting in Ocean Township.
No. Well, the golf course have their own management control, so they're allowed to do that.
They're allowed to hunt in the golf course. We think they're playing golf in there, but they're hunting.
I don't know of anybody doing that. I'm saying they're allowed to control their.
No, but I mean it's a concern because I walk my dog also, and I like to walk where there's some open space. I mean, I think we should know if they're hunting here. I had
Well,
no
you shouldn't
idea.
be walking on Hollywood or Deal Golf Course. though.
No, I wouldn't be on the
Right.
golf course. So it's only in the golf
Safe.
course, and nothing would shoot out of the golf course.
I haven't ever seen one. Ever. Right.
Okay. All right.
Well, the county courses for sure they do. The county courses they absolutely hunt on. In the woods around them and on the county golf.
But not in Joe Playa Park.
No, nowhere in Ocean.
And none of our neighborhoods. Because Dwight, I walk my dog on Dwight, which is right behind the golf course.
Yes, I used to live
Hollywood.
there.
They don't hunt in Hollywood Golf Course.
I don't know that anybody hunts there. Well, they can manage their own golf course, but I don't know anybody that hunts there. Yeah, that's not where they do a legal hunt for the county. No, there's nothing to fear over there.
Okay, so I guess I wanted to come up again just to sort of, as the gentleman said, his son said it's not a Disney movie. Why do we have to have the questions? First off, I want to make a statement. I would like to have no referendum on the ballot about hunting deer, killing deer, because People do get confused in the ballot sometimes. They get nervous. They're not sure exactly what the question is. They're trying to read it and they don't want to take too much time. And there could be people voting for things that they weren't really clear on. So I would say we should just be very direct. We should be very non-Disney about it. And we should just say, deer management, kill deer, question, yes or no. Birth control, yes or no. Do nothing, yes or no. But be clear about it. We're killing deer, number one. Doesn't matter how we're doing it because we haven't figured that out yet. Birth control or nothing. So that might be something you consider, Vincent. Just keep it simple.
Are there no other methods other than those that you just mentioned?
Well, I don't think we know what the method is. We kill them, or we sterilize them and give them birth control, or we do nothing. Is there another method? I don't know any other choice.
I don't know, but as the mayor said, that's what we're going to gather that information depending on how the results come out.
Well, I guess I'm just saying, let's just be clear, less wordy. Just kill, birth control, or nothing.
Lethal and non-lethal method.
It's a question. It's got to be a question.
It has to be a
question. Word, yes
well, you
no.
could say, deer management method.
Okay. All right, we'll
Kill,
take that under advisement.
birth control. And then in terms of the methods, birth control is really a more long-term solution, which we should keep seeing better results, less deer as the years go on. Killing is kind of like getting a haircut. You kill it, you take the hair off, and in a year or a couple months, let's say with our hair, it has to be done again. So if the expense for birth control is greater in a one-time situation, perhaps it's longer lasting than a hunt that would kill just what's there.
You'll have your say in the booth. Thank you.
Hopefully I won't. Hopefully it won't be on the ballot.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Yes, young lady in the back. Come on up.
Hi, Sheila McCord, David Street.
Hi.
I'm glad to see it on the ballot. We live in a democracy.
Right.
That's pretty much my thing.
Great.
If Hollywood Golf Course is over 25 acres and they want to take care of their deer, I don't have a problem with it. Let's see, I'm okay with the medical marijuana places, and if they want to grow it on industrial way,
right.
Not.
Yeah, we're not talking about a grow facility, just dispensary.
No, you said there's something. No, it's
we
on
can
there.
scratch that right off. I'm only interested in the dispensary myself.
All right.
So we can scratch that.
Yeah,
part
I
off.
saw the grow thing, and I'm like, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't think
interested
so.
in a grow facility.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. That's me. I don't know about the rest of the council, but
I was surprised to see the questions.
yes. The cultivate. No, I thought I scratched that one out before. Just A.
My name is Robert Miller, 41 Branch Road, Oakhurst, and I'm totally against any form of killing of the deer. And as far as the medical marijuana goes, these people are suffering who are taking it, and it should be as easy for them to get as possible. Because when you're very sick, getting in a car and driving an hour or whatever it is very difficult on people. So those are my feelings. I just wanted to keep it short and sweet.
Great.
But,
I appreciate that.
And if you cannot put it on the ballot, that's even better. But if you have to, I'm just letting you know I'm completely against any form of killing of the deer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. It's my first meeting here. My name's Justine Keefe. I'm at 19 Deal Lake Point Road in Wanamassa. Regarding the medical marijuana dispensaries, absolutely, I do favor that. I feel that really does. People in my family, people that I know, it definitely helps people. So I'm glad to see that being put to a vote. As far as the deer management, I've been living here for a while. I totally did not see the questionnaire or the whatever was put out to get people's feedback on the deer population. So I think it would really behoove a lot of people if we could see the actual results of that, which actually does go to support, whereas the deer population continues to increase. I would actually like to see that. Is that something that could be posted in the Coaster, something on Facebook?
I think we can find that study for you, the results, and post. It was overwhelming, though. Rob was on that committee. The one thing that was constant, not about managing deer, the questions were about many things, and the one constant was that we have a deer problem.
Okay,
so
but
that was overwhelming.
And not to, but what constitutes a deer problem?
Well, I think the number of car kills, the number of damage to properties. We asked a lot of questions. Has your property been damaged? Has your yard been invaded? Have you seen a deer more often than before? Do you see them walking down the streets where normally you wouldn't see them, or in areas where more impervious surface and they're still walking around there? I think those questions were all asked on that.
It's about 15 questions on this.
Yeah, there was numerous.
But
nonetheless, I mean, that's what the referendum's really for. You'll have your ultimate say. The folks who said, I didn't get a chance to see it, I didn't know about it, get in the voting booth and let your voice be heard.
I haven't missed one election since I've moved here.
Then this is
but
ideal for you.
I would love to see the actual statistics, though. Like maybe, countywide versus statewide versus, nationwide. I'm just sick of everything. Whenever there's a problem,
We're
just
interested.
kill
We
it.
only manage Ocean Township, so I can only talk to about that.
But it would be, that's a good point. But I would still love to see the actual statistics and have people be really informed on this, because I have so many reservations and I'm so opposed to any kind of a hunt.
Gotcha.
In my, where I live.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have to come up every time.
Could the word lethal be changed to bow and arrow?
I don't know,
Haven't
because
decided that
we haven't
we're gonna
decided
do
what method of non-lethal or lethal, when we get to that point, how we would manage it.
I
think
thought-
that's where the discussions will come in.
But I thought in the county they're only doing
I
the
think
bow.
they do. You're right. But what would happen, Eileen, if we get to that point? Like I said, we would have a town discussion on. Okay, we have this. Is how people are leaning to manage it. How what method of that management are we going to do? We get into that.
Right.
We'll hear from you.
In order to though vote, people say, "Well, lethal." They don't know what lethal means.
They should. They
Well,
shouldn't
it
be
could
voting
be.
if they don't
No.
know.
I mean, no. What I'm saying is,
So they
lethal could be a gunshot or a bow and arrow.
It is. It's lethal.
So
That would be
lethal, yeah, but it doesn't state
It doesn't
that.
specify which lethal.
That's what I'm
method.
saying. So I think that makes a difference.
What should we put for non-lethal?
Are you Mr. Achera?
Yeah.
You're a very handsome guy.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
But I have
can
to,
talk about
I
this
have to
after the
just
meeting.
tell you something that's been bothering me.
Who said that? Answer.
I have to tell you something. Throughout this whole conversation, you're the only one that's been laughing, and I don't want to judge a book by its cover.
Oh, I think we're all laughing.
No, well, when a joke is stated, but I don't know. I just got the feeling that everyone else is looking very seriously,
Right.
but you are not. That's just my, and
I'm a
it just
lighthearted
and it
guy.
upsets me.
It should.
Well, this is not a lighthearted subject.
Nor is the marijuana one. And I'm dead
Okay.
serious about that one. But I will
Okay.
ask you the question. So if you don't want lethal there, what should we put for non-lethal?
Bow and arrow.
Non-lethal.
Sorry?
You wanted us to
Lethal
put
is
bow-
killing.
And non-lethal is not killing. So what should we change? Because you don't want lethal there. So what?
No,
should we
no,
cha-
you could put lethal, but instead of lethal, put bow and arrow method.
You're missing my point.
I am missing it.
Hold on. Or it could be a lot of other things. That's my point. So if you want lethal change to bow and arrow, what do you want non-lethal change to?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm being facetious.
Also, there's been studies about birth control. It doesn't seem to work because they don't know who's getting it and who's not getting it. But that's 10 years ago. That was the report that we were given. We were all given that.
Just to share some.
Another thing is, if I'm a big supporter. I'm a big supporter of hunger projects.
Yes.
I'm listening to hunger projects. I hear you. Come on, I can do multitasking. I'm
And
married
when
I
the
got 2 kids.
hunters kill all these deer, I think it would be nice if somehow, some way,
Food bank on it?
that this food could be sent to
I
these
think that's a requirement of most of
poor,
the-
starving people in other countries.
It's going to stay here
I
at the food banks.
What's that?
It's going to stay local at the food banks.
It's going to stay at the food banks? Are you joking with me?
I'm not laughing now.
No, they do.
Who's going to take the deer? I know they have to be hung and the blood has to come out of them and so on. So
normally it goes to a
who's going to
butcher.
cut them up and
Butchers.
send them to people?
Butchers, you actually.
This is actually done?
Yeah, it happens now.
Yeah, is that
1 out of 10 or so many.
Now
are
the
donated
hunter
to the
back
food bank.
there, I hope that he, when he kills his deer, I hope he either eats the food or
He
gives
does.
it to people who are in need and are hungry, because there are hungry people right in this town.
Right.
Yep.
I'm a retired teacher. Cedar Village is doing Stuff the Bus,
Yes, they do
backpacks,
great.
etc.
Great job.
There are people hungry in Wayside in the apartments that go to bed hungry at night, right in Ocean Township. I taught for 32 years and I know it. There's the richest and the poorest in this town. So I hope all this deer meat
Yep.
is going to feed people.
Well, we're not even there yet, but thank you, Eileen. Okay, we're winding down. Anybody else? Dave? You gonna take a shot at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon the pun. It wasn't meant. It was good. Dave Dorfman, 6 Cypress Avenue. I'm not a hunter. I don't own guns, but my wife just got back from Alaska. She hunts, she fishes, she grew up in Pennsylvania. Her parents had about 200 acres of land.
Wow.
She'll volunteer to hunt. She'll do it. She got her hunting license when she was 8 years old. I know nobody wants to hear it, but she hunts. And they eat the venison. I had venison twice. Once when I went to Pennsylvania, they all looked at me and tried to pass it on me. And once when we lived in Twinbrook, when we first got married, she made me fried venison, and I looked at her and we almost didn't get married. So it's, but the point is, people hunt, people eat the food. I think we have a deer problem here. We have 5 in my backyard. See somebody stupid post on Facebook. They were here last night. There's 4 here. There's 4 all over the place. But as far as marijuana goes, maybe I did it once when I was 17, like everybody else. My 2 kids. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with medical marijuana. My daughter's in Florida. She was thrilled last year when they passed it. She got her card. If they pass it here, maybe she'll come back. Otherwise, she's staying in Florida where it's safe. But other than that, I just want to talk about the deer and that people do hunt and people do eat it. And
Great. Thanks, Dave.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Are you coming up, Cheryl? Come on up.
I'm Cheryl Miller from 41 Branch Road in Oakhurst, and I am totally against any killing of the deer. You know, I was interested to hear about the venison, the story about giving venison out to people. Through my church, Presbyterian Church on the Hill, I've been volunteering at Trinity Church on Grand in Asbury at the food pantry for I lost track, maybe 6 years. And in the past couple of years, they've been offering, the people love, like when they offer chicken, that's the favorite, or fish is okay, or maybe beef is okay, or pork. And I'd say in the last maybe couple of years, they've been offering venison. Now we're talking about people who are on public assistance, who some of them are homeless. They're really down on their luck. And they come over, and there's different boxes with the different offerings, what we have for them. And there's other things too, vegetables and whatever's there. And when the people come to the venison, they'll look at it strangely, and they'll go, and it's packaged, they purchase it, and they'll say, well, what is that? And I would just say, it's venison. Well, the majority of them don't even know what that is. So then they'll say, well, what's that? And I'll just say, that's deer meat.
and you should see the reactions. I mean, most of the people, they just like, it's like a hot potato. They don't even want to touch it. A few will take it, I'll be honest. But, like, they're just an abhorrence to what that really is.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay. Thank you all. You got more? Okay. I think we heard from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, still Mark Comer, 3 Marissa Court. Mayor, you had commented about B on the medical marijuana question.
Mm-hmm.
It does mention cultivate. Did you not think that was in there?
I didn't see it. We're crossing it off.
Oh, so
I'm going to make a resolution with the amendment of taking B off.
okay.
Okay?
Because what you might do is you might grow marijuana in Playa Park, let the deer eat it,
Somebody said that. Somebody
and then maybe they'll be too stoned to procreate.
That's
So
a whole other.
you might
They'll be
solve both
running all
problems
over
at
it.
once.
They'll be going crazy. They'll follow the Grateful
Well,
Dead
they can
around.
eat.
Then we'll never see them again.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you all for your. Okay. Come on up.
Also a resident?
Yes. Come up to the microphone, Jack.
Thank you. Jack Kearns from Beecroft Place in Oakhurst. And just a couple of simple things that have been discussed here. It's not no but big detail. But I think the question that appears on the ballot should only try to determine, in my mind, whether you want legal or lethal or non-lethal approaches. The rest, if it comes out to be only non-legal, non-lethal, you'll figure out how to do that. If there's a food capturing for the good of the will people, you'll find it. I believe what you're going to be doing, the council will be doing, we're getting experts in to help you think this thing through.
Of course. And
find out what's the best of all of it. I think the big issue, at least from what I've heard here, is whether you should take legal action or not. And there are various ways of thinking about that. What about if you use a needle shot into the deer to create some producing? Is that, I don't know.
Yeah,
So there's some
we
issues
don't
like
know. A lot
that.
of options.
But the basic thing is, do you want to kill the deer or not kill the deer to control the population? If you can get into that, and I know Vinny's working hard to try to get the words right, and it ain't easy, I know. The other thing is on the medical marijuana, I believe it is an important decision to be made with regard to the town. It's been discussed in the past, and I think we need to have some resolution of it that decides whether or not medical marijuana should be allowed, dispensaries and so forth should be allowed. It doesn't deal with non-medical. Non-medical I have much stronger views of, and I would have to articulate that in a private session because I think my control of the language would be difficult. But for medical, we're thinking about the caring of people, the positive approach of medical and so forth. And we've got to cut the ribbon on that and say we're going to do it or not do it. We've been kicking it around forever.
No, we did vote on
No, we have an ordinance.
I understand.
For the record, we have an ordinance now that prohibits any dispensary of marijuana, medical or non-medical.
Right. And
The question will be on there to see what the people feel. Still, again, it's a non-binding question, folks. So we still may take action, may not take action. See what that's what they say. Let's see where we're going with it. That's all.
Right.
There was a reason we put it in before. I don't want to get into it because we'll be here a while. But there was a definite reason why we had to act on that. And if we didn't, there would have been a dispensary in town under our noses without us even knowing it. Rob wouldn't have known about it, and nobody would have known about it.
In both of these things, there needs to be controls. For example, if you're going to have deer controls, are you going to have people trained in how to shoot a bow and arrow or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Will they know how to take care of things if they miss the deer and hurt it or whatever? So there's got to be some controls on that. What's it do to your police responsibilities? That's another thing that you've got to think about. So the yes or no on lethal versus non-lethal is a decision that drives a lot of other things going on.
We're not there yet.
But the first decision is yes or no, lethal or non-lethal.
Right.
Or nothing. Well, that could be non-lethal. If you say non-lethal, these guys could decide that means we don't do anything. Which
No. Means that they want it to manage the deer in a non-lethal manner. That's how I would interpret that.
Something like that.
Okay, I wouldn't argue with it.
Okay. Anyway, thank you. Are you good more or no?
No, that's.
Okay.
I think you need the controls. That's the other thing. Are people licensed to do these
Yeah,
things
it's-
and all that kind of
Believe
stuff?
me, we're not voting on that part tonight.
I understand. I understand.
Just to put a question, okay. Thank you all for your participation. We really appreciate it. Appreciate your participation. Okay.
Sorry, just one more thing. I think from what Rob was saying with the accidents that are happening right now, the last time when I tried to get another deer crossing sign on Deal Road, it took almost 5 months to get another one. So if the accidents, Rob, Mr. Chair, are that bad, I think we need additional deer crossing signs. There aren't any, Rob, there aren't any on 35. I don't see any
All right,
deer
we're
crossing
looking to
signs.
get more of those.
I mean, no, seriously, if that's what's happening in Whale Pond, they're very.
Okay,
there
that's
aren't
not
many
what we're
on
here
Whale-
for tonight. We will take care of
No,
that.
but that's what came up here tonight
Okay.
about the accidents. That's why we want to kill the deer, right?
No, it's not why, Jackie. Thank you. Right. Okay. At this time, we have resolution 1, request Monmouth County Clerk of the Elections to place the official ballot to be used for general election be held November 5, 2019. A question concerning the operations of medical marijuana facility in Ocean Township. But I'm going to amend that. It's A and B. We're taking B off.
Correct.
And it's just for dispensary purpose only, that question to appear on the ballot.
Do we need to vote on that?
No, you don't.
Okay? Resolution? Huh?
That's what you just asked.
No. Oh, no. Yes, you need to vote on it. I said, do you need to vote to change it?
Correct,
Right,
correct.
that's
No, we
what
need to vote on the resolution,
Vote
yes.
on the resolution.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Someone,
My question was incorrect.
I know what your
someone
question
please
was.
offer
I offer resolution 1.
second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
So just for the record, this is offering the resolution or the vote of the
The
resolution?
vote of the resolution.
Okay, so hold on. I want to make a couple of comments. So, for those that are still listening on this one, I know most people were interested in the deer, but this resolution ordinance in town was passed. Okay, we've already passed an ordinance in town that bans medicinal marijuana and recreational marijuana. It passed 3/1/1 last year. Okay. The residents elect us, you elect us. The residents that aren't here elect us to make decisions. And we made a decision last year not to have medical marijuana and not to have recreational marijuana in town, either dispensaries or growth of them. Okay? My concern here today, and somebody brought it up, why we rushed this to get here. We rushed it because it needed to be on the ballot for a referendum in November. What's that?
My only question was 5 o'clock.
Oh, no, somebody else asked another question. So here's my concern. If a vote doesn't go the way some council members like, are we going to take it out for a referendum every time it doesn't pass or it does pass? So again, we have an ordinance on the books that says no medical marijuana in town. It's already been passed. My concern here is that if I don't like something, do I then say, can I take it out to a referendum and get the people's opinion on it? We've already voted on this. That's my concern, that we're taking out a referendum for something that's already been passed and discussed for over a year. Okay? And I'm sure my other council members will have comments on this, and that's fine. That's why we're here to debate this. So that's concern number 1. Concern number 2 is I'm all for medical marijuana, and I hate to say it, just not in my backyard. I get the closest one is up in Edison. I get that it take.
Neptune.
There's one in Neptune now?
Yes. No, there's not one in Neptune. There's one in Woodbridge.
Right, Woodbridge.
Okay.
No, I was in the.
Hold on.
That's just a place where you can get the license. It's not a place where you can actually score. No, I believe it actually dispenses.
You guys can talk about this.
We can do that after. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. So.
No, they do not.
Okay.
I was there yesterday.
Gentlemen,
That's why I know.
we can't have sidebars because you're not picked up on the camera.
So whether it is in Neptune, and I don't think it is, or whether it will eventually be in Neptune or Eatontown, the example I used when this ordinance was passed last year was most people go to Home Depot, a lot of people go to Walmart, people go to a lot of places that Ocean Township doesn't have things in. If you want to go to Home Depot, we don't have one. If you like Chick-fil-A, you're going to the mall. If you like Wawa, you're going out of town for that as well, or the other side of town. My point here is we can allow other people to have medical marijuana facilities. Eatontown's looking to apply, and Neptune's looking to apply. I don't think it's that far for anybody in our town to drive to get there. But think of the reverse. So if we do put one in town, think of how many people from Monmouth County are going to come here. If you don't like the traffic today, think about how much traffic is going to come here if you have one in this town. Again, I'm not against medical marijuana. I'm against it in this town. I know they want to put it up in the Sand Hills, Sunset Park, whatever the case may be. Okay, yes, it's still away from people. You still have police that you have to pay. You still have security that you have to worry about. You still have traffic issues that you're going to worry about. And the most important thing, in my humble opinion, is once a medical facility is here, it's only going to be a matter of time if the state passes a resolution, ordinance, law to allow recreational use, that medical facility will be converted to recreational. So I am against this resolution for all of those reasons. No.
Good. Okay. I have to rebut that because you have to know the facts. If I didn't step in and John didn't step in last year and bring it to awareness that there was going to be a dispensary in town, we would never even have passed an ordinance.
That's not true, Mayor.
That's very true. You knew nothing about it until we brought it to your attention. Hey, this guys are going to buy. Rob, I'm telling you how it went down, brother. And here's what happened. And so they were ready to open up in Pier 1 over there, a dispensary. And I said, you know what? We want to give the people a chance to voice their opinion on this, not just us. No, we have 2,415 ordinances. No, we haven't changed them all. There's probably 3 since I've been here, 15 years, 16 years. There has not been that many overturned. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's my point.
So, right, and we're not doing it every week. Otherwise, we would have. So it's an important issue. We want to hear from the people. The ordinance is still in place. And if it's that harmful, people will vote against it. Fine. I don't care. Listen, I have no horse in this race at this point. So I want to hear from the people. It's all about them. I think it should be in your hands to hear what you think about it. A medical dispensary to scare people into thinking. And after that, there's going to be a heroin gallery in the back. And then they're going to pass recreational. Come on. I mean, those arguments just, they're ridiculous. It's not going to happen. If you say you're not going to have something, you're not going to have it. I mean, we can do it that way. You can craft the ordinance. Who said it has to be in the Sandals? It could be right on 35. You go and go. If that's the case. We're not even there yet. Again, non-binding question, a resolution to put the non-binding question on a referendum so we can hear from you. The people that we represent is you. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Donlin.
So I'd just like to say something as a physician. I have patients who have serious medical issues for whom medical marijuana helps. Patients with multiple sclerosis, who have spasticity, who have difficulty with mobility. So yes, going to Eatontown or going to Neptune can pose a significant challenge for them. I think this is the ideal thing to put out to the public to get a pulse, a feeling of what our town feels. So I wholeheartedly agree with putting this on the ballot in November. So I vote yes.
Okay. Councilman Fisher.
Yes, real quickly, I just want to say that one of the most important things that came out during the campaign is that we wanted the voters to have a say. We want you to feel that you have a big part of this town. You're the stakeholders, and that's why these resolutions are here, and I vote yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Okay. Resolution S1 will be on the ballot. R2, Resolution 2, request Monmouth County Clerk of Elections to place on the official ballot to be used in general election to be held November 5th, 2019, a question concerning approving various methods of control of the deer population. Vinny has an amendment to that now as well.
Well, it's what I mentioned earlier. We'll change those 2 questions to what was mentioned earlier, and we'll tidy them up. But it'll be something in the form of what we mentioned earlier.
Okay. Somebody please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Okay, and Resolution 2 will be on the ballot also, and hopefully we'll hear from you folks as well. And we assure you, even after the vote, more discussion will be out there. We'll have set up a meeting so someone can explain to us the methods of culling the herd on a lethal form and then culling the herd and non-lethal. So we'll try to set something up between now and November so people are even really more informed before they get into the voting booth. How's that? Fair enough? Great. Thank you all for coming. Somebody make a motion
to adjourn.
Second. Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Yes.
Council members Achara.
Yes.
Donlin.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
And Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.